Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, if you're just getting up, good morning. If you're in the car, good morning. I hope you're having a great drive into work, a great drive into wherever you're going. I hope you are going to have a wonderful day. You know something, man? I start thinking in the positive from the time I get up in the morning. I decide that I am going to make sure that this day is going to be a good day. I won't let anybody say otherwise. I won't let anybody change my mood. I won't let anybody else change my mood. Anyhow, folks, we are going to have a great show today. The title of the show is Wow! Local Texas TV station exposed the healthcare evil. Michael Steele, MAGA playing the long game. And if we can get to it, Mehdi Hassan, fascism is starting to take a beating overseas. One hopes we can take one here too. One hopes we take one here too, meaning hope the fascism that is occurring in America right now can take a beating here as well. Anyhow, folks, last night, and like I tell you, this the way I prepare these shows is what's happening in the now, and also a little bit of historical stuff sometimes to make sure that we are informed appropriately, so that there's some continuity and we understand why and how things happen. But last night, I actually set to record because I knew I was going to be doing something else at 10 during the 10 o'clock news. But I heard in passing that Channel 13 was going to cover the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. And why is it that the Texas legislature every 2 years, the Affordable Care Act has been over 13, 14 years now. And we hadn't take it. We continue to watch our Texans die year after year from having healthcare issues that if they had insurance would have been taken care of. We continue to watch a lot of family, friends, and otherwise get ill with no ability to go out there and get cured. Why? When it's all there. It's all there for us to have right now. But for many reasons, we don't. And because of what I think is calculated misinformation, we continue to elect those who would do us harm. And this isn't something this isn't political. It is political that they're not giving folks what they need. My brother from another mother from Panama sent me a meme. Actually, it's a video yesterday of a guy in Panama talking about healthcare and just living and just doing things and just being able to support themselves. And one of the things that his anti-government for anything went like this. And I said, but that's not America, right? And he said, why is it that in Panama we have a social security system that covers everybody, but the wealthy folks, the politicians, their kids don't go to those particular hospitals that are the social security based hospitals. Their kids don't go to the public high schools and the public elementary schools that the masses go to. And they do very little of what they partake of very little of what the state gives them. That's the country that I'm originally from. But we come to the United States and we have the top-notch universities, public. We have or used to have the best roads on the planet, public. We used to have the best high school, elementary schools. Rich, you went to school next to rich folks as well. Public schools. Hospitals, yes, they were private, but the social security system that was created after years and years and years and fighting for one that really works is very good. And we are running from it. We are running from something good that we put together. And folks in Central America and other places are trying to make their systems better for all. We don't want to go in reverse, folks. We want to do things right for everybody. The telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. You can call at any time during the program, during my narrative, and be a part of the program. 713-526-5738. Hit the number 2 to get on air. Hit the number 1 to contribute. Before I get started, I want to remind everybody that we are in fund drive mode. And as much as we are in fund drive mode, I make sure to still provide a solid program for you. 713-526-5738. I do 10 Politics Done Right programs a week, 5 streaming only and 5 live on air via KPFT 90.1 FM Houston that I stream as well. This endeavor is completely funded by you voluntarily. That is why I make sure to maintain consistency, dependability, and accuracy with my videos, podcasts, blogs, articles, newsletters, and books. For the next week and change, it's getting shorter and shorter every day, folks. So, we won't stay in fund drive mode forever, but for the next week and a few days, we are in fund drive still. But to be sure, we continue, as I mentioned before, to give you a programming because you deserve it. You deserve it. So please remember, you can watch this program in many different forms, many different ways. You can you can download the application, tune in, and watch it on Apple or Android, right? You can also go to politicsdoneright.tv to watch it on YouTube. You can also go to facebook.com/KPFT Houston and watch it on our Facebook page. You can also just tune in on air. There are many different ways to get the program. We want to make sure you have it anyway. Now, if you want to give suggestions as to what you want to hear, what you want to see on this program, drop me a line, kpft@politicsdoneright, kpft@politicsdoneright. If you like the program, let me know. If you hate the program, let me know. If you want me to change certain things that I talk about, let me know. If you have a topic that you want to discuss, let me know. Because this is one show, one program that you have input, and your input is taken seriously. So if you drop me a line,
there's no way that you can hate this program.
Oh,
not possible.
I love this, man.
Well, Egberto, even if you disagree vehemently with folks, you're still courteous about it. That's the one thing that's missing these days is courtesy for an understanding of someone's differing opinion. Like, oh, you don't agree with me? I've got to hate you. Wrong.
No. Yeah. Anyway. We don't need that. I think a lot of times, Howard, we learn that, right? We learn that's how we have to disagree. I mean, I was on the board of Coffee Party USA, and that's the one thing that we tried hard to fight about. And that is not fight about, hear me fight about. That is what we deal with, right? It was a transpartisan group, and we all came from different political backgrounds, different ideologies, etc. And what we did was to put into practice, how can we have different ideas, etc., get along. And we would lock ourselves. We'd meet once a year in a city, so any city all over the country, right? And we will lock ourselves into a house. there will be 20 of us in one house, and we'll sit down and go through policy, and we'll sit down and go through how can we make sure that what we're promoting here, people just, even if you disagree, get along. And it takes an exercise to do that, right? Because everything out there wants you to be at somebody's throat. I refuse to do that. And the reason why, Howard, as well, is this. A lot of the differences we have is imposed on us from those above in order to benefit themselves. If we are fighting each other, then they can get away with doing anything. So if I fight, that's why I always say MAGA folks are my friends too. MAGA. I have relatives that are MAGA. The thing about it is, if we allow these guys to break up families, etc., break up friendships, etc., they win. And I'll be damned if I let those guys win.
I have so seen this before. My sweetheart in Livingston and her sister don't speak because of MAGA.
Right.
Her sister believes that the election was stolen and everything is terrible, and they're kidnapping these children and putting them underneath Pizza Huts or whatever the hell that is.
Yes.
Whatever that insane idea is, it seems to have permanently split these two sisters. And I tell each one of them, because I'm kind of stuck in the middle.
Right.
I tell each one, look, one day it's going to be too late to say anything to that person.
Yes.
One day it'll be too late. And you're fighting over something, a person you've never even met and never will.
And who doesn't even care about you, Howard?
He doesn't even care about them. So why are they fighting? Why are these families breaking up and screaming in such division? It's insane. I don't understand it. Well, here I go hijacking your show again.
No, you're not. You're not. I mean, this is real, right? This is real. So, that's the intent of this show, to be real. And having that input is in Panama sumamente importante. It's extremely important to have all, those views, I mean, we have to put that out there. By the way, I didn't even salute my brother in the studio, El Senor Jack Van Beber. Jack Van Beber, how is he doing? Is he mic'd up yet, or?
Well, I'm close to Howard. So
we're here. Yeah, he's right over my shoulder here.
Oh, he's watching you, Howard. Be careful.
10 cans of string.
That's right. I wish you wouldn't eat sardines so early in the morning.
Well,
I guess the can of sardines won, didn't they?
Hey, but you know what? You have the sardine cans and strings and everything working, and we're just so happy about that, man. We are just so happy about that. But look, folks, I tell you, we got great guys all around. And by the way, when I say guys, I mean guys, meaning guys and gals and all that good stuff. So remember that we have great folks.
Of course.
At KPFT that really in volunteering and keeping this place up to date. But Howard, I have an important piece I want to play for the audience right now. I tell you, the piece changed the subject of the show today back into the healthcare domain. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and play that. And then after that, we'll talk about it. But folks, at the same time, I'd like you to call 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Hit number 1 to provide support to the program, which we definitely need. I have to raise $250 every single day, and I've fallen behind the last 3 days. I ask you to help us do that. Before I run into the healthcare piece that I'm going to play right now, remember this: $40 gets you a membership, right? $40 gets you a membership that allows you to vote at anything occurring at KPFT or Pacifica Network, our umbrella system here. You would be a member of 5 huge radio stations and hundreds of affiliate stations by having a $40 membership. A $100 membership gives you a Politics Done Right t-shirt with the KPFT logo on it, and a $250 or above contribution allows you, or not allows you, what am I saying? A $250 contribution and above, we'll go have some coffee, talk politics, or whatever you want to talk about. 713-526-5738. Hit extension numero uno, number 1, to give a contribution, or extension number 2 to be on air, or go to kpft.org, click donate, the first item. And then remember, whether you call in or do it on the website, please, please, please remember to select Politics Done Right so that this program will be credited with that particular contribution, so that the management of this station will say, I guess Politics Done Right is holding its own. They're bringing enough cash into the radio station so that we can keep paying our bills for electricity and air conditioning and everything else. Anyhow, folks, if you're thinking about dropping off, don't. This piece is extremely important. It will save lives, because again, it'll teach us that in the next election, we must do the right thing. So here we go with this piece. And please remember, call in. I want to give Channel 13 some big kudos for what they did on Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Unfortunately, it's a bit too late. The session is almost over in Congress. But they interviewed Joe Freudenberger, the CEO of Oakland Medical Center, and listen to what he had to say about insurance in Texas. We are the worst state when it comes to having uninsured people. Check this out.
We have the dubious honor of being the least insured state in the United States, which is not a proud distinction.
Now, it is interesting, right? It is interesting. The excuse that David Balat, I want you to listen to David Balat. He's right on healthcare. What a name, right on healthcare. Listen to what he had to say as far as the reason why we shouldn't take the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Again, 40 states take it because all these states right now have paid their money into it. Listen to what he said as far as why it is that we shouldn't take the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act.
Medicaid expansion is extending that out to able-bodied adults. We have to take into consideration those people who are most vulnerable that would be crowded out by the added folks into the program with an already limited supply of physicians and facilities.
What is extremely sad about that is that he's telling you, well, there are not enough doctors or it would overburden the system. What a pot of crap that is. First of all, when people are getting ready to die, those that have no insurance right now because they don't have the expanded health care, you know what? The system still has to take them. When they get into the emergency room, the system has to take them. The only difference here is the system will milk that person for whatever they're worth, and then the state has to come up with the rest. Now, I want you to understand this. This is the most inhumane thing one could possibly do, to give as an excuse that you are not going to provide health care to some because for some unforeseen reason, they won't be able to be seen. And it seems to me like what you should be saying is, if we don't have enough doctors, get doctors trained. If our healthcare system cannot take care of the people within the country, then we have a failed healthcare system. If the services that your country provides cannot handle everybody in that country, it is a failed system. You cannot have the best healthcare system in the world if, for some reason, everybody doesn't have healthcare. Now, if you want to understand what's worse in this entire system, understand this. The way the Medicaid system works right now, the federal government pays for 60% of it, and the state has to pay 40% of it. If a state decides to accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, that changes completely. The state will have to insure more people, but the state is only responsible for 10% of the cost. The federal government is responsible for 90% of the cost. Why is that? All the states, whether you accept Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act or not, you are all paying the taxes that covers the Affordable Care Act. You're still paying the taxes, whether you accept the Medicaid expansion or not. It is an ideological thing in Texas, in the 10 remaining red states that refuse to accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, they prefer to have their citizens dead. They prefer to have their citizens virtually murdered than to provide them the health care that is there for them to have. It is hard to understand why the media. I was completely impressed with the coverage that Channel 13 just gave the issue. They did it in a completely cogent manner. Of course, they cannot speak to some of the issues that we can speak here at, because again, we're independent. We're not dependent on ads from corporations or from anything like that. The government can't control the things that we say. They can't shut down our FCC license or anything like that. It behooves me that most Texans that continue to vote for those charlatans, that continue to vote for those evil people in Austin, don't understand that the monies are there for them to use. The monies are there. Listen to this little piece from the Channel 13 piece as well. It is so important that we understand this concept. It is so important that folks understand that it is a choice we are making to kill Texans who get sick. We are making that choice because of those we decided to elect, for those who we decided to believe. Check this out.
Right now, the federal government pays for 60% of Texas's Medicaid program, with the state picking up the rest of the cost. Under expanded Medicaid, the feds would pay for 90% of the program, with the state only having to contribute 10%.
Now, we have Texas Senator Nathan Johnson. He's been pushing to attempt to put some soul, to put some humanity, to put some humaneness into these Republicans in the state legislature in Texas. Please provide folks with health care. It's a travesty that we, the country that likes to claim that we have the best healthcare system in the world, in a country, in a state that has the medical center where people fly from all over who have the means to pay, come here to pay for services Texans can't use. People. Listen to what the Texas senator had to say.
What we're talking about is taking the tax dollars that we're all paying in federal income tax that go off to Washington, that are currently being sent to 40 other states to cover healthcare costs, but not to Texas. It's a tragic failure of vision on the part of the politics of the state.
Earlier on my internet show yesterday, one of the listeners said, we can't do anything. It's the government and we don't have control of the government. To which I told him, that is the saddest thing that I've heard all day. We do have control. If we did not elect Dan Patrick, if instead we elected Michael Collier as our lieutenant governor, the most powerful elected office in the state of Texas, if instead of electing that crook that we have as the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, if we had elected instead Beto O'Rourke, we would have had Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. All those rural hospitals that continue to close around Texas would remain open. All those hospitals that have already closed in Texas would get a rebirth. All those people in rural areas, in urban areas without health care, suddenly they could see a doctor. And don't tell me we don't have enough doctors, because if you're telling me we don't have enough doctors, what you're saying is you have relegated a segment of your population to live a life of illness and death. We have to call it out as it is. It's a failed governmental system that prevents Texans from having access to health care that is there for them to have, except that the politicians that they elected, the Republican politicians that they elected, decided to deny them care, decided to deny them health care, decided to put a death sentence on a large percentage of the population, much of whom voted for them. Remember that, folks. That last night, as I watched it, I became more and more inflamed because, again, it was regurgitating to me that which I already knew, and which I'm saying, why did it take so long? Why haven't we been pumping this message out? Why didn't Channel 13 do this stuff before the legislature started, every single day, pointing out dying because not to accept.
Well, seems like the tin cans and string here at KPFT have failed Egberto. I hope he's listening to me.
I am listening to you, sir.
There you are. Okay, and we're picking about every other word here.
Oh, can you hear me now, or?
I can hear you now. Well,
okay.
Yeah, okay, are you there?
I am there. I am here, and I'm glad that you can hear me now. Did you hear the piece that I played for the?
We did hear the piece. It was the comments afterward that we didn't hear.
Okay, so great.
It became more inflamed, and just about the time you said inflamed, something flamed up and burned one of the strings off of the tin cans. So it'll be a little less fire here.
Okay, well, I hope we're firing on all cylinders now. I hope we're firing on all cylinders.
Yes. Okay.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, I think Jack wanted to say something, right?
Yeah, Jack is right here. He's got a couple of pages of comments for you. And he's stringing his, okay, this Mike 2. Oh, he's going to sit down now, so we're going to hear a dissertation.
Okay, you got to be quick with that one, Jack, because we got quite a bit more to cover. But anyhow, beforehand, we want to say this. Folks, give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Extension numero uno to donate. Extension number 2 if you want to comment on this particular issue. All right, come on in, Jack.
Okay, I was pretty shocked when Greg Abbott basically said no to the Fed's money, to help the Affordable Care Act for the poor, basically, not for the rich, but for the poor. And, single payer Medicare for all would solve so many problems. We got to get the insurance companies and the politicians who try to inject political policy into healthcare out.
Right.
Get them out from between the patient and the doctor. Stop them from dictating what services the doctor can use and for whatever diagnosis they have. Get them out. If the people had single payer, the corporations wouldn't have to provide coverage for the people, just the death insurance.
Well, Jack, now that you mentioned it is so interesting because remember, if we had single payer, it would be great because what happens is all the jobs that go in, all the monies that we have to spend into having people in doctors' offices that try to figure out what insurance is to pay, etc. And not only that, every president of an insurance company makes several $1 million. Every vice president, every CEO, they all have their own data. I mean, the cost is ridiculous when you have more than single payer, when you have a whole bunch of people to pay one bill. It's ridiculous. Go ahead, sir.
Well, yeah, that's really what's going on. These conservative politicians, they don't seem really interested in helping the people anymore. My opinion is they're auditioning for a favorable position when they flip us to corporate rule, which we're basically living under now.
Exactly.
No, we're living under it now. It's just not official.
Exactly.
The oligarchs don't need the people anymore. I mean, they extort their resources from third world countries, move them to factories, make the products and then sell them to us. They're go ahead.
Jack, that is a reason why we do what we do, right? Because
Yes.
when I spoke to that guy yesterday on my 3:00 show, it was like my heart sank because we're speaking all these important issues, and he said, "But we don't control anything anyhow. The government's going to do what the government wants to do." And my answer to him immediately was, "Wait a minute. You are the government. Whatever, all these people that talk about they want to live constitutionally or whatever, they forget how the Constitution starts. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a better union, right? I mean, we, that's what it's about. We, and whenever it's funny to me when I hear people say that's the government or we don't want a government to do that, right? And I'm sitting down there and saying, but government is us. And if it's not us, it's our fault that it's not us because we determine it. Look, every time somebody votes for one of those Republicans in Austin, and again, let me first tell, this is not, I have nothing against whatever party you belong to, Republican, independent, anarchist. I don't give a what. I honestly don't. Some of my relatives are Republicans. Some of my relatives are nothing. Some of my relatives are Democrats. I love them all. But it does matter who you vote for. And in this time, in the 60s, if you voted for Republicans, you were also voting for civil rights. A lot of people don't know that because the party has turned completely Dixiecratic. But in the 60s, it was a thing to vote Republican for civil rights, right? A good thing. It's not the case now. When you are voting for people who specifically, whose policies are anti-healthcare, who are supporting, providing healthcare to anybody, you're voting against yourself. You're and even if you have a job right now, and even if you are employed with great insurance, you're only a job away or not a job away from not having healthcare. Go ahead.
Well, you're only a paycheck away, and here's some fuel for thought. If we didn't have health insurance at all, if it didn't exist, we wouldn't have these outrageous prices on things.
Exactly.
So there's a means to pay for it, it will exist. If there is a means for it to exist, there's a means to pay for it. So if we didn't have health insurance at all, these companies just completely disappeared one day. We wouldn't have the outrageous, what happened to the days where you went to a doctor and paid $10 and that was it. The doctor charged you $10 to give you a shot and say, okay, here's some stitches. You're going to be okay. I mean, that's the kind of healthcare that I grew up with. We had a clinic down the street where, I was an accident-prone child, so they practically had an entire wing by my name, this clinic, because I was there so much going, okay, he fell out of a tree again today. He ran to the back end of a car with his bicycle again today. I mean, my parents, they had their own parking spot at the clinic where I was always being taken in. Okay, here's some stitches for you today. Okay, what's wrong with your foot? Okay, you fell out of a tree again? All right. That was me.
It's amazing. Well, I am glad they patched you up, Howard, because
sure that they did, but that's probably what's wrong with me. Too many falling out of the trees. But anyway, I'm saying that if we did not have the healthcare, insurance that we do these days, the prices would be a lot more reasonable because, like I said, when there's a means to pay for something, it will exist. So there you go.
You know what we learn in our economic system, Howard, is something called abstraction of services, etc. Right? It is funny because somebody told my wife at church that a new company took over the clinic and they fired all of the doctors. And they hired a lot of physician assistants, which are very good as well. But I mean, the idea is it's not about, in America, healthcare providing healthcare is not about healthcare. It's about corporations owning hospitals, owning doctors, etc., as a means of income, as an investment income for those who control capital. And I just frame this in an interesting way. That's, if somebody is going to work, they're like, what the hell is he saying? I'm saying that it's not about healthcare. It's about making money off of you getting sick. And how do we capital? And the great thing about making money on how you get sick is the following. You can decide to buy or not buy a designer jeans. You can decide to buy or not buy a car. You can decide to buy or not buy a lot of things. But if you were accident prone, like Brother Howard in the studio, you have to go to the doctor. So that is the surest investment there is. And one of the reasons these folks want to keep the government, we the people, out of it is that since it's something we all need, we would all invest appropriately in it. Folks, it's a racket, and that we don't see it, they make sure we don't see. When I talk about Channel 13, given that a lot of people are going to watch that Channel 13 report, for those who watch it. And of course, right now we know very few people watch broadcast TV compared to what all the other things you have to watch. But they did get an audience. Hey, they got me. It was such a well put together 3-minute or so segment. But in that 3-minute or so segment, there was so much to learn. Channel 13, I could hug whoever did the part. But it is far and too far and in between. It was a public service they did. And the thing that it means right now is there should be a litmus test for every election going forward. Do you support, in Texas, the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, so that not only poor people, Jack, I just want to make one simple correction. The idea is this: poor people in Texas will get Medicaid. They will qualify for Medicaid. It's not the poor people, as we know it, who need the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. It's the people in limbo, those people that have a job but can't pay $10,000 a year for healthcare because their companies are not going to offset some of it. Those are the people that are suffering. And you know who those people are? The people that make this society run. The people that allows you to have the gasoline in your car. The people that are out there making sure that all those private sector jobs that are imperative right now, whose companies don't provide health care. Those are the people that are in pain. Those are the people without health care. I mean, I was at the studio at KPFT one night, and my blood pressure went through the roof. I had felt jittery that day, etc. And Robert, a guy on the board of directors, he was my wingman that day doing the boards for me. And he said, Egberto, I have a meter in the car, and he got the meter and it broke the meter. The pressure was so high. I mean, and it didn't record until, that's another story. But anyway, I said, okay, I got to go home, go to the doctor. He said, no, I'm calling 911. And he proceeded to call 911. And the ambulance came to KPFT to check up on me. And they have me in the ambulance, and my pressure's 200 something over the high 100 somethings, And the guy says, what hospital do you want me to take you to, the driver? And I said, oh, I thought all of that was automatic. He said, no, what hospital do you want to go to? Hey, I don't go to doctors. I didn't have a hospital or anything like that. I said, whichever one is closer. And I said, but then I started to think, by the way, I have insurance. From the time I came to this country, I had insurance either through the school, through the job, or since I worked for myself, paying my own insurance. But I have to make the insurance affordable, I had a $10,000 deductible. And with that $10,000 deductible, that means whatever that ambulance costs to take me to the hospital, I'm going to have to pay out of pocket. So I just looked at the guy and said, by the way, how much this is going to cost to get me to the hospital? And he called a crazy number. I don't remember, it was like $1,000 or $1,500 or what it was. And then I looked at him and I said, well, let me ask you a question. If I get out of this van right now, how much is it going to cost me? And he says, oh, if we don't deliver you anywhere, it doesn't cost you anything. I looked at him and I said, so long. So I drove with super high blood pressure back to Kingwood to go to a care center. And that's another story about that. But my thing is, I shouldn't have had to ask that question and put myself at risk because that amount of money, I rather take the chance. It shouldn't be that way. And I know that I had insurance and I was still concerned. I can't imagine that person without insurance, the pain, the concern that that person has, that they have to think about money for their own health. It is sad. 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to give a contribution. We don't have any yet, so I ask you so kindly to support the program. As you can see, we make sure and inform not just the BS that you're going to get to make you feel good, but how things really are. Johnny, come on in, my dear brother. Johnny, come on in, sir.
My dear brother from another mother. When you and I advocate for expanded and improved single-payer style Medicare for all, it means exactly what it says, for all, everybody. We're not just advocating for libs and Democrats and progressives. We're advocating for everybody, including my next-door Republican voting neighbors, to benefit from this health care. And by the way, let's emphasize health care,
right?
Not health insurance, not a piece of paper issued by a boiler room in Manhattan by a bunch of banksters who could care less whether you and I live or die. It's not the same thing. It's not health insurance, it's health care.
Thank you for making that distinction.
The that we get right now is only as good as the insurance company's willingness to approve a claim when we have a need. Whether we get hurt or we come down with an illness, we have to make a claim. That's ridiculous. If you have a problem, a medical issue, or you're physically hurt, you should be able to know to have an ambulance come pick you up, take you to the hospital, have you checked out, and they just take your Social Security number and verify you're a citizen and you're part of the system. As a matter of fact, we should also include non-citizens because some things have to be tended to avoid a public health situation. Healthcare is really complex, and the last thing people need is to have to worry about how they're going to pay for it when they're making decisions with their doctor about what they need to do. So,
the best experience
even though you can give Channel 13 credit for that one time is not enough. Too little, too late. I would encourage the owner or owners of Channel 13. I don't know if it's Cap City still. I don't know who the current ownership is. I would encourage them to have a rethink, thinking about their complicity in the way things are right now. And it's time for them to do a turnaround. They, along with Channel 11 and Channel 2, they need to get together and say, hey, the time has come for us to start doing actual journalism with regards to healthcare. Why not invite Bernie Sanders on once a week for 1 hour? Have a Bernie hour, just like Tom Hartman did for years. It's not hard to do. It doesn't cost much.
Johnny, I tell you, it is. I look, when people do the right thing, I like to call them out for doing the right thing just as much as I call them out for doing the wrong thing. I mean, when a police officer stopped me and was nice to me, etc., I thought that was a good thing. I reported it. Of course, the KPFP people gave me hell for saying that's what they're supposed to do anyway. So, I mean, I think I want to give the kudos to Channel 13 because I think Channel 13 did a great job with the piece. If anybody wants, go to their website and check out the entire piece that they did. I think it's important for people, they not to just hear it from what we're saying here, but hear the well-produced piece that they gave with the numbers, etc. I was just surprised at how good the piece was that they did. Now, they didn't go into how because of the way the capitalist structure works, these guys are trying their utter best to not have centralized control of payments to healthcare, etc. But you know what? They don't need to say that. We are here. We can explain that stuff here. But they did they did a good job of it. Johnny, anything else before we go?
I would also advise Channel 13, Channel 2, and Channel 11, if they want to encourage and increase viewership, and I know because the technology is different now, the way news is delivered. Sure, that's a fact. But if they want to encourage people to start tuning in, maybe they should stop having this news blotter type news where they show you black and brown people committing crimes every goddamn day. I'm so sick and tired of seeing that. I've seen that for years. And Cheryl Fryer, who used to be on Channel 13, is now a bitter racist woman on KTRH radio. These people need to wake up. Wake up, guys. Redo your Rolodex. I keep telling KOHF to do their Rolodex, and I tell the other companies to redo their Rolodex to put Bernie on there.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate your input as usual. Thank you so kindly for calling in, sir.
And they're the willies.
Thank you, brother. Brother from another mother. All right. Look, folks, here's the thing. I need to pitch a little bit here to try to get some of you to give us a call. I have another story that I want to put up, but I think I covered the healthcare story completely. We are going to be covering healthcare all the time on this program because, like I said, I have a wife with lupus. I have a daughter who's had 2 strokes. Again, healthcare is something that you don't know who or when you are going to need it. So you want to make sure that it's there for you if you have to use it. And we can actually do it in a humane manner. Right now, the folks who profit from healthcare cares nothing about you. And every time you come out against single payer, every time you come out against the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, every time you put somebody into office, you remind us of the impotence that we feel for something we actually are potent about. Again, you take a look at what that young man told me, almost made me cry yesterday. It's the government. We don't have any control. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, we, the government, we, the people, the government is us. If we say government is bad, we are saying we are bad. If we say government is bad and we don't do something about it, which we can, it's on us. We elected those thugs in Austin. Those thugs are killing your mother, your brother, your sister, your friends. That's what they're doing. Every time they leave that state house without giving you health care, every time they leave that state house without providing to teachers the salaries that they need to continue to teach your most precious resource, it is us who's voting those people into office. We, the people of the United States, if we exercise who we are, we won't have a problem. Folks, call 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to provide support for the program. Howard, come on in, Howard.
Egberto, you were so tempting me to stand on my soapbox again about voting.
Go for it, sir.
Because you were so right. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you about our own Mr. McKinney, who brings you the Houston Hour every Friday at 6 p.m. Once again, Mr. McKinney has opened up his open air bus for a tour for a donation. Listeners who donate $75 each to kpft.org, or you can call 713-526-5738, extension 1, and make your donation of $75. You get a pass for an hour-and-a-half VIP tour of the historic Herman Park Museum District, Texas Medical Center, and along the way, you'll be entertained by Mr. McKinney in the open air bus. Do that, okay? Mr. McKinney is waiting for you. $75, 713-526-5738, extension 1 to donate.
Absolutely. So, folks,
I'm not going to get on my soapbox here.
Thank you, my brother. But you have your soapbox anytime you want it. 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to give. Folks, please give us a call. I haven't made my quota for this program, and we want to make sure and keep this program on air. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Extension number 1. Please, folks, 713-526-5738. You can also donate at kpft.org. Please remember, this is Texas fund drive, and we've got to raise that cash to keep the lights on, to keep that 100,000 watt transmitter that transmits entirely over Southeast Texas. 713-526-5738, extension number 1, and to provide it over the internet, kpft.org. Remember to select Politics Done Right as the program. Politics Done Right as the program, since that's how we're going to ensure that this program is credited with it. Now, those folks who continue to think that that the MAGA losses, the next major city was lost by Republicans in Jacksonville, Florida, and a lot of folks are saying, "Oh, MAGA is not winning." I want you to listen to what Michael Steele had to say, and we'll be right back. We know Republicans have been losing races left and right. All the those who believe that Donald Trump won, the MAGA folks, they've been losing all over the country. And many see that as being, oh, MAGA is going down. And sometimes I think that as well. But Michael Steele said something that's interesting today. Today they lost the last large city controlled by Republicans, the top 25 controlled by Republicans. They lost it in Florida today, in the home of DeSantis. And, everybody's saying, look, they're not winning. They continue to lose. Michael Steele, the former chairman of the Republican Party, sees a bit differently. I want you to listen to what he had to say, and then we'll take it on the other side.
He doesn't even have the skills to get fellow Republicans that he endorsed elected in Florida. Tonight, there was a huge upset in the Jacksonville mayoral race. A Democrat won. Okay. A Democrat has not won there in ages. Joe Scarborough, who should have been asleep, but was awake, and he tweeted this: Democrats just flipped the biggest city Republicans controlled, and they did it in the heart of DeSantis country. Trump's Republicans keep losing in places like Jacksonville, Wisconsin, and Kansas. How long will they keep driving their car off the cliff? What do you think?
It's not even, what's funny about that? I love that analogy. For me, it's like they don't really drive the car off the cliff. Is they drive the car to the edge of the cliff, and then they take it apart and throw the parts over the cliff. It's just because that's what they're effectively doing in all of these little races that are adding up to a lot of losses. But they don't see it that way. This is not so much in the traditional sense of winning and losing. This is about how you, over time, amass a degree of power that forces your will and your way on the general populace. And we've already begun to see some of the effects of that. So, I think we need to be careful instead of looking at this as a balls and strikes kind of game. The Trump people are playing long ball here. They're not trying to win it all in one election cycle. They have systematically taken control of the RNC. They've systematically taken control of boards of elections, school boards across the country. Look at the big picture and understand exactly what's happening instead of focusing on one little horse race. Not diminishing what just happened in Florida, but just recognize they're not as put out as you may think they should be, because, okay, that's a loss in a longer game of winning. And that from them is the end game.
I'll be honest with you. I never thought about it as, I've thought about them playing the long game, but I never thought of the long game including losing. Because in losing, they're also breaking the system that they themselves hope to rebuild. Interesting. Michael Steele, I think, nailed it. And that's why, in as much as they keep losing, they continue to push the same crap. Because they figure at some time, it's going to turn around. Absolutely. At some time, it's going to turn around. Okay, we are down to about 3 minutes and change, folks. Give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to provide support to this program, or go to kpft.org and select donate. As you select donate, please be sure to select Politics Done Right as the program you're supporting. Whether you call in or you go to kpft.org, please do ensure that you say that, make sure it's for Politics Done Right so that we will be credited appropriately. You know, that's how those numbers, folks want to know what programs are doing what, et cetera, et cetera. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Look, today we covered 2 major issues here. The major one, of course, being healthcare. And we're going to continue to cover this type of subjects that many would want us ill-informed about. And there's a reason for that. Because it is profitable. There is profit in chaos. There is profit when things are not exactly known how it's going to be done. There's profit there. And that's all our system is all about right now. When doctors are being laid off and replaced with physician assistants for profit. Remember what that guy said in the eyewitness report, the Channel 13 eyewitness report. He said, if we go ahead and give everybody insurance, then folks are going to start going to the doctors. Yeah. And we may not have enough doctors. It may go away. That's what he's saying, right? But at the same time, the corporatocracy is laying off doctors and replacing them with physician assistants. If it's going to overwhelm the system, isn't the right thing to do is to keep the doctors and hire the physician assistants, since there will be more people to see? They think you're stupid. Remember that. They don't know. They don't only want to do they don't want to do you harm. Let me get harm. Harm is done based on their economic policies to make more profits. They don't particularly care about you. They don't care whether you're harmed or not harmed. For them, it's all about money. And if you get harmed in the process, so be it. If something good's come out of it for you, so be it. And that is where I want folks to start understanding what's going on in this country. As the corporatocracy eats more of it, and as it needs to be fed to make more and more and more, as those profit margins have to go up because we're in a system that says if the profits aren't growing, we're not doing well. The only folks who pay for that is you. And the only way around that is for you to vote appropriately, for you to vote your interest, for you to vote what's right. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Please support the program so we can continue to inform, so that we can continue to communicate. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. To donate on air, please select Politics Done Right as a show or go to kpft.org and select donate and select Politics Done Right as a show you're supporting. My name is Egberto Willis. I want to thank Jack Van Beber and Howard Reynolds for the great support given all of the times. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And how do I end this, baby? I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.